There are many ways one can use to speed up WordPress, or rather increase the performance of your website built using WordPress. In this video, I'm gonna show you one of the easiest way to speed up your WordPress website. One of the easiest way to speed up your WordPress website is to compress all the resources the website is. And one way to do this is by enabling GZIP compression on your web server. Data compression is the process of reducing the size of data transmitted by websites. The GZIP compression or GNU zip compression is a file format and a software application used for file compression and decompression. It allows you to reduce the size of your website data files. Enabling GZIP is one of the simplest and the most effective speed optimizations that you can implement on your WordPress website. Despite this, many WordPress sites don't use it. This is one of the best ways, or one of the many ways you can use to improve your website. But have you tried this method? Please comment below. Despite this being one of the many ways you can use to improve your website performance, many WordPress sites don't use it. This method. So I want you to try this method to improve your website performance. This is how the GZIP compression works. When you visit a website, maybe you have your website. When a user visits your website, your browser, all the modern browsers support GZIP compression by default. So they will be able to identify and they will be able to know whether your website is using a GZIP compression technique. So when a user visits a website, when I visit your website, your browser check whether the web server has GZIP enabled. If it is enabled, it retrieves the compressed files, decompresses them, and then serves the smaller file to the users automatically. We do this automatically. On the other hand, if the GZIP is not enabled, it downloads uncompressed files, and hence your website performance is not good. So if you have a website, if you have a WordPress and it is not performing, good thing to check whether you have enabled one of these GZIP compression techniques so that you can improve your website performance. And this is how you enable this technique to improve your website performance. The first thing you need to check is whether the GZIP compression technique is enabled in your WordPress website. And there are so many ways you can do this to check whether the GZIP technique is enabled in your WordPress website. Is you can use an online GZIP compression test tool to check. And one of the tools you can use is this one, GZIP test. This is one of the technique. And all you need to do is to get your website address, URL address, and then you paste it there, and then check whether it has GZIP enabled. And another tools you can use, so this is one of the website, or what we refer to as a compression test tool, to check whether your WordPress website or your website has a GZIP enabled. Another tool you can use is this one. hostmyip.org. They have that too. So this is the address, and all you need to do is you get your website address or URL, and then you paste it there, and then you test, and then you check. So you enter your website URL and you check. The tool will give you a brief report on whether or not the GZIP is enabled in your website. So this is the first step. First, you have a WordPress website, and maybe its performance is not good. It's been slow, and one of the way to improve the performance of your website is to compress the resources the website is using. So take your website address. If you're not sure whether the GZIP compression is enabled, take your website address or URL and use one of these tools to check whether your website GZIP is enabled. Paste the URL there or the address, and then you check. So it will give you a report whether it is enabled or not enabled. Most likely it will be the GZIP compression technique will not be enabled. And then the next step is I'm going to show you one of the ways you can enable the GZIP compression to improve your website performance. If the GZIP compression technique is not enabled, there are so many ways to enable the GZIP compression in your website. This may depend with the web server you are using to host your WordPress website. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to enable GZIP compression using a free WordPress plugin. You can do this by using a caching or performance optimization plugin that is called W3 Total Cache plugin, especially if your WordPress is using Apache web server. But as you are going to see is that most of the WordPress websites are actually hosted in Apache web server. So you can quickly speed up your website by enabling GZIP compression technique. First thing you need to do is to check whether the GZIP compression technique is enabled. And most likely you find that the technique is not enabled. If it is not enabled, go ahead and enable this GZIP compression technique to improve your website performance. Let's add a plugin in this website, and we can add a new. This plugin, we search the plugin, then we install the plugin. Once you install the plugin, you're going to enable the GZIP compression. So then we are going to activate the plugin. So once you activate the plugin, you can go to the plugin options, and then you go to the browse cache. So once you have activated the plugin, you need to go to the plugin settings. Go to the plugin settings, that is performance. Then you need to go to the browser cache. So once you go to the browser cache, make sure that the GZIP compression is enabled. So you just make sure that the GZIP compression is enabled. So we make sure that is enabled, and it's by default it is enabled. That's all you need to do to to enable the GZIP compression using a WordPress plugin in your WordPress website to improve the performance of your WordPress. In the next video, I'm going to show you another compression technique that is more advanced than GZIP compression technique that you can use to improve your website performance. Thank you. Make sure that you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.